Hello guys, and welcome in today's episode where I'm overly excited to give you this 4090, a first time on the channel. I can't believe I have this beast right here. Woohoo! But hey, it's the MSI Ventus, right? So 3X, so hey, no frills, no bang, no chills. Woo! This is the Ventus MSI 3X version. It is a no bling, no thrill version from MSI. It is a cut down version. Basically, you don't get any style points for it. No bling, no thrills. 4090. What does that mean? No LED, no addressable RGB, no metal on the front. Definitely no BIOS switch. It basically gives you the power. But hey, it gets the job done. So this kind of reminds me of the 60s where you could get like, I don't know, a pure muscle car with no creature comforts, but you did get access to all this power. You know what that means? So shiny plastic. But don't get me wrong guys, you still get an anodized aluminum backing for this GPU. So yeah, all kidding aside, this should be quite well and capable of dissipating all the heat that this GPU can put out. Little side note here, if you missed my previous video where I did a review on the 4070 Ti from MSI, still the Ventus 3X like this one here, well, this design-wise feels like a carbon copy to that one. I'll leave a link right here so you can check that out after this video if you want to. That would help the channel a lot. But in the meantime, you're here for this puppy, so let's dive in. Let's start off this review by talking about the external design of this GPU first, and then we'll dive in a little bit more. Of course, we're going to talk about the specs and going to put it through its paces with some games and see exactly what capability this GPU has with 4K through game, high settings with ray tracing on. So we're going to see some of that action going on. First of all, as you can see, it is still a GPU bigger than my head. In all fairness guys, and all jokes aside, this is only a triple slot design GPU. I say only because of course there are some manufacturers out there who went with the quad slot design and should take up a lot more spaces in people's cases. And this is definitely not the case, and it should make most people feel quite good because they can fit this in their case. With a little bit of that joking aside, other than this, as I've mentioned in the intro, the front of the GPU right here, it's all made out of plastic. There's nothing really wild going on. It looks actually quite good. It is just normal plastic. I don't feel, it doesn't feel premium or anything. It's just, you know, it's supposed to look metal from a distance, I guess. I mean, it smells like plastic, it feels like plastic, and it definitely is plastic. The key design element here on the front, of course, are its three 100mm fans, which are, well, according to MSI, a 4.0 Torx double bearing fans, which should cover more than enough to get the heat away from the GPU whenever ramping it up to its full potential. And that basically covers the front of the GPU. As I've said, no blings, no thrills with this GPU. You just get access to the raw power and of course to the raw performance being unlocked with the three huge fans that do their job properly to dissipate all the heat. Moving on to the back of the GPU and continuing with the trend of dissipating the heat, of course this GPU has a metal backing on the back. Or I should say it's actually anodized aluminum. It actually feels quite good. It is polished. It has a few design elements here and there, and the most outstanding design element actually is the pass-through design. So you do have some slots here that actually allow for all of that air to come from this fan right here and blow through the GPU right here and go out the back, which makes it quite nice. One other design element that I should actually mention right here is that the PCB doesn't actually go all the way across the GPU right here. It actually stops right about here. So where you see this indentation in the aluminum backplate here, that's where the GPU actually ends. So that's where the PCB ends, but you do have this pass-through design here that actually makes it look quite well and okay, well, in proportion, I should say. And this GPU actually manages to feel quite good and sturdy in hand, which is actually a very important thing when handling such delicate objects that cost a lot of money. There's nothing pretty much that I can mention right here about the back of this GPU. It's pretty basic, but yeah, this is basically what you see and what you get with the MSI Ventus 3X design-wise with the GPU. Moving on to the side of the GPU right here, as you can see, we have 8 copper heat pipes that are actually, I think, nickel plated or something like that, just to make it look more in term with the overall aesthetic of this GPU. But they do go all the way across this GPU right here and all the way through this heatsink, of course giving it that extra performance when it comes to cooling this GPU right here. Moving on to the business side right here, of course you get 3 display ports out and 1 HDMI. The aforementioned display ports are of course display ports 1.4a, and of course the HDMI, it's HDMI 2.1 compliant. Moving on now, we actually see that we do have an extra piece of steel right here. I do suspect that this is steel. It is quite thick and heavy, and this is well embedded into the PCB and into the overall aesthetic of the GPU right here. And this of course offers it great rigidity and stability, so it doesn't really flex, and MSI I think calls it its anti-bending bracket. It does exactly what it sounds like, but even though it gives you a bit of extra weight, it does actually give you the extra flexibility of knowing that this GPU can withstand a little bit of abuse. Other than this, guys, on the exterior of the GPU, you get no NVMe link, you get no BIOS switch, you get no LEDs as I've said, you get no RGB, you get nothing, none of those rings and thrills with this GPU, you just get the power. Speaking of power, this GPU is actually rated at 450 watts, and the PSU recommended by MSI, it goes up to 850 watts. I figure MSI actually cares about this GPU because they think you're gonna have to run a very good and fast CPU with it that is gonna be as well power hungry, and yeah, I think you're gonna be running a pretty good damn motherboard as well. And maybe if you go with an AIO design with your CPU, then definitely you are going to need the extra juice required for this puppy. All in all, I do think that 850 watts is probably on the safe side, so you should probably stick with MSI's recommendation. But hey, this being my channel, I only have a 750 watts power supply that, guess what, MSI? I'm gonna throw this puppy in my PC anyways and see exactly if 750 watts is enough for my system. And I'm actually betting that it is. Link down in the video description with all of the specs of the PC that I'm going to run this GPU in. Of course, with this GPU, you're getting the dreaded 12-pin connector, so this is this guy right here. I shouldn't say dreaded anymore because, come on, dreaded. Yeah, there were some failures in the past. I think MSI and basically NVIDIA, I should say, ironed out all the kinks with their connectors. Everybody kind of got used with the new protocols. So yeah, moving on aside, this is actually a pretty sturdy connector. Of course, it features the 3-way splitter for the 8-pin connector. So this is where your PSU side goes in 3 times, and the output is of course one 12-pin connector right here with the communication port for your NVIDIA processing of the power delivery in real time for this GPU. As I have mentioned in the past, it is actually very, very important, and I think everybody does mention this on the internet nowadays. Whenever you stick this into your GPU, please make sure it goes in all the way, it latches with a little click, and then just don't try to move it around as much. I mean, if you don't have to take it out, just don't take it out. And if you are going to leave it as such, you're gonna have no problem moving down the road with this connector right here. Other features of this GPU of course include its monstrous memory size, which is a 24GB GDDR6X that features a memory bus of 384 bits and a bandwidth of about 1000 gigabits per second. Its other rendering capabilities actually include 512 tensor cores, which are actually 4th gen, and the 3rd gen ray tracing cores, which actually reach 128. I am actually expecting to get a lot of performance out of the GPU, but most importantly, when running the games, I'm actually going to look for some of that efficiency. And I should say some of that sweet efficiency, because when I was running the 4070 last time I did a review, I was actually blown away by the difference between the 40 series cards and the 30 series cards, and I'm actually looking quite forward to see that efficiency going up even with the 4090 right here, because it's still based on the 4nm size for its GPU die, and I think that makes all the difference. Guys, for the first time on this channel, I actually have something close to a sponsor that I endorse, and that is me. I have opened up an online store that you can definitely check in the links down below. It's techfusion.store. That's how you can reach the website, where my plans are actually to try and deliver you guys all the PC needs that you are actually going to need, both now and in the future, to as close as possible to MSRP prices as I can get them. And I know how it is to be cash strapped, but still desiring the latest and greatest. I think it's high time now that we put this in the PC and see exactly how this puppy can handle the games. So here we have Hogwarts Legacy running on the 4090. Everything is set at 4K, everything is set on Ultra, so let's just check the settings here really quick. As you can see, so yeah, 4K, DLSS. Oh, let's just bump this up. Okay, upscale sharpness all the way up to 1. All right, everything seems to be in order over here. Ultra ray tracing, everything is set to Ultra. Okay, let's just jump on here and just check out really quick. Oh, one more thing. Let's check out the DLSS quality setting. Okay, NVIDIA DLSS to quality. All right, that sounds very good. Right, let's see the FPS meter. Right, here we are in the castle. right next to the room of requirement over here. Right around 85 to 90 FPS, which seems rather cool. The game looks absolutely amazing. It runs really smooth. Yeah, as you can see right there, the performance of the GPU, those three huge fans actually keep this GPU quite cool. We're just around 60 degrees Celsius. The utilization is not that high though. I see it around, what, it's 75 to occasionally 85%. Wow, 2760 megahertz. Now that's a beast. And it's just going up to around 300 watts, which is, yeah, something. The TDP, it's rated at 450 watts for this GPU, so there's definitely more punch to pack. I'm not sure if this is an issue with the optimization for, well, Hogwarts Legacy right here, or if maybe there is a bottleneck with my CPU. I'm not really sure. I did, however, told you guys that I am going to run this with my 750 watts power supply, but that doesn't seem to be an issue because as I see there, we have around, what, let's just call it an even 400 watts of usage. So there's definitely more watts to be had from that PSU. The PSU is definitely not an issue. Here we are outside flying around. We're still reaching a little bit more FPS. So this is definitely a lighter environment to process, around 100 FPS, as you can see right here. And we're still sitting around 80% utilization on the GPU. Anyway, the game runs very smoothly. I'm very happy with the way the game runs. And this is definitely a title to play if you haven't had the chance to do so yet. But yeah, definitely the 4090 of course can handle a game like Hogwarts Legacy. I wasn't really fretting about it, but definitely this is nice to play on the 4090. If it is a bit too much, it is because I think my game can run very well on a 3090, my 3090 that I have lying around. And it does so really good at 4K with around 60 FPS, which is still, you know, not something to throw aside. But yeah, if you want to have that OP power, definitely the 4090 is the way to go. And this variant from Ventus 3X definitely does the job, even though it doesn't have all the bells and whistles like, you know, LED and Adobe RGB, all the things that I have mentioned before. All right, let's just jump on to the next title here and see how we can do. Alright, so here we have Forza Horizon 5. Everything is running on Ultra. 4K once again. Of course, this behemoth of a GPU has absolutely no issue rendering this title. We're running at around 130 to 150 FPS. If I didn't went off the rails here, I would have been better to show you the car, which looks absolutely amazing with all the settings set on high. Actually, I think it's a crazy ultra with high settings. Let's just check really quick here what we have. So settings wise, go into video, right, 4K, ultra quality there. And this is just partially the settings, and here are the rest of the settings. Oh, okay, we have ultra and extreme. Yeah, that's the preset we're running here. So we're just cranking this game with absolutely all that it has to offer us, and this GPU just runs fantastically. Once again, I'm a bit worried about there. As you can see in the top left corner, the GPU is just running at around 90% utilization. I'm not really sure of my, well, starting to age CPU 3900X might show its weaknesses with this GPU, not being able to fully render all the capability that the GPU is spewing out. But yeah, definitely 60 degrees C once again with this title. And we are ramping up not even 300 watts from the GPU, so I would say the efficiency is very, very good with this generation. As you can see, we're sitting just beneath 300 watts with 250 to 275 watts occasionally being drawn by the GPU. The CPU, yeah, it's still at around 80 to 90 watts or so at 36 utilization, so I'm not really sure. Do take all these games with a pinch of salt from my review, because definitely I think that my CPU is starting to have issues with brand new cards of the 40 series generation. But yeah, anyway, as you can see, there's pretty much a lot of juice left in the tank with this GPU, so to say. If we are reaching just 75 to 90% utilization from the GPU and we're spewing out more than 150 FPS here with the games, then definitely this is one power efficient as well GPU that can render a lot of graphical potential. Cyberpunk 2077 4K, everything set on ultra, everything it seems to be running smooth. Definitely this game seems to be faring better with my CPU. I'm really sorry guys about the CPU bottleneck. I couldn't have foreseen this, and definitely the 3900X is not a sluggish CPU, and I wouldn't have expected it to be a bottleneck for this type of GPU, but it definitely was with the two titles before. But seems to be looking better with this title now turnaround. And yeah, Cyberpunk 2077 running 4K, everything set on ultra, DLSS set on quality, and it seems to be running, of course, buttery smooth. The utilization this time around on the GPU sits at around 99%, which is fairly acceptable, and I would say this is ramping up the full potential or close to the full potential of the GPU. As you can see there, we're hitting occasionally over 400 watts, which is definitely this is definitely hitting the mark with this GPU. So we're getting around 90 FPS, 4K Cyberpunk 2077 with everything set on ultra. I don't really fancy all that much, or don't really like all that much this title, because it can be quite finicky with newer hardware. It's proven itself once and again that it's lacking in optimization, so to say. But definitely it runs buttery smooth. I wouldn't expect anything else running the 4090 with this title, and it definitely feels good. And yeah, at least this time around I am using the full potential of the 4090. At least with a title that is not that well optimized, but if we're still being able to get 70 to 90 FPS at times, then that's definitely a win in my book, and definitely shows the capability of this 4090. As you can see there, we have jumped the meter of the temperature for this GPU a little bit this time around. Instead of 60 degrees Celsius, we're reaching anywhere in between 66 to 68. But definitely that 3 fans design on the front of it is more than capable of dealing out with all the heat that is coming out from the GPU. And oh, in case you are wondering about the coil whine on this GPU, yes, there is coil whine. There is noticeable coil whine, like with most of the GPUs nowadays, but there's nothing too worrying. This is, more or less a common practice within the industry. So you will have coil whine in one way, shape, or form in between different GPUs that you can buy nowadays on the market. Guys, thank you so very much for being so awesome and choosing to watch today's video with me. And I do hope to see you guys in the next ones. Until then, have a nice one. Peace.